Joe, I'm going to talk slowly. You listen slowly. See if I can educate you and all the rest of them. This committee's filled with these bastards on this committee and these phony former federal prosecutors behind the scenes. You know why this woman testified today the way she testified today, in my opinion? This was her 5th interview. They had her behind the scenes for 4 interviews. They wore her down, in my view. She changed lawyers. They said she had to testify today because of death threats. She couldn't testify last week or the week after that? This committee is a farce. It is a Stalinist committee. I want to tell Kevin McCarthy and the Republican leadership, you need to put out the equivalent of a protective order right now and let Nancy Pelosi know, and this Benny Hill Thompson, who runs the committee, and Dizzy Lizzy, and you need to tell them right now they are to preserve all the records that this committee and the staff has pulled together, whether it's texts, emails, documents, phone records. And while we're at it, they need to preserve their own texts, emails, documents, and phone records. And they need to tell Nancy Pelosi to preserve hers, and Steny Hoyer, too, and their staffs. Because this is the greatest, well, Russia collusion was the greatest. This is the 2nd biggest farce against the American people. They bring this woman up to testify. She's about 25 years old. Among other things, what does she say? That the president knew that there were going to be threats. The president knew that people might be armed. The president knew there might be violence. Yeah, which is exactly why the president offered the National Guard on January 4th, according to 5 eyewitnesses, of which she wasn't one. And it was turned down by Nancy Pelosi. It was turned down by Chuck Schumer. We have 1,000 witnesses. How about 1,001? Nancy Pelosi, but no. This committee's filled with stooges for Nancy Pelosi. No questions for her. If they knew there might be violence, she knew. So why did she do what she did? Because she called them stormtroopers a month before or 2 months before. Here's another piece of information that this committee has that they haven't reported. How do I know? Because of Kash Patel, your same guest. He said in November, right after the election, Donald Trump authorized the transition to the Biden administration from the Trump administration in the Department of Justice. And Kash was in charge of debriefing scores and scores of Biden people who they assume would come in. Now, if you're plotting an insurrection with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, you not only do not offer 20,000 armed military to protect the Capitol, you also do not participate in a transition period and order the Department of Defense to work with the Biden people. They have no evidence for any. This committee's come up with nothing, despite the fact it's all one way. And I want to encourage networks all over the country, who I'm sure will listen to me, fire your legal analysts. Fire them. There's too damn many former federal prosecutors. This isn't about a federal prosecution. These legal guys, they keep coming on. They know nothing about the Constitution. A president, a candidate, has the right to lobby the state legislature if he or she believes that the electors should be for them. It's a political process protected by the Constitution. They have a right to litigate. They have a right. Ask Al Gore. They have a right to make allegations. They haven't called a single Democrat official before this committee who violated Article 2 of the federal Constitution and changed the election laws because of hundreds of lawsuits brought by the Democrat Party before the election. We can even put aside ballot boxes and all the rest. They changed the laws. Now, you know, the Supreme Court under William Rehnquist put an end to that with the Florida Supreme Court. But under Roberts, they didn't stop the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. They're trying to criminalize a political process. Meanwhile, we have this hack U.S. attorney in Washington. What are you going to do? Take my iPhone next, Mr. Graves? Go after Eastman? Go after another guy? You have attorney-client privileged information there. This committee has violated due process. This committee is withholding evidence. This committee is withholding exculpatory witnesses. You have a U.S. attorney who's violating attorney-client privilege and confidentiality. And then you have a U.S. attorney who what? Oh, we're talking about, I want to read you something before I go. Here is Saul Weisenheimer, whatever his name is, Quoted by the New York Times, Peter Baker. Did Trump commit a crime? This is the smoking gun testimony today, says Saul Weisenheimer, former deputy to Ken Starr. There isn't any question this establishes a prima facie case for his criminal culpability on seditious conspiracy charges. Is this guy a schmuck? Doesn't establish any culpability for anything. The 2 Secret Service agents in the car just said the testimony your young lady gave was false. False. I'm done. That's enough.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.